The 85 Canons of the Holy and Renowned Apostles, together with an interpretation of them in the common dialect of modern Greek, translated into English. Canon 8 to 10. Canon 8. If any bishop, or presbyter, or deacon, or anyone else in the sacerdotal list, fail to partake of communion when the oblation has been offered, he must tell the reason. And if it is good excuse, he shall receive a pardon. But if he refuses to tell it, he shall be excommunicated, on the ground that he has become a cause of harm to the laity and has instilled a suspicion as against the offerer of it that the latter has failed to present it in a sound manner. Interpretation. It is the intention of the present canon that all, and especially those in holy orders, should be prepared beforehand and worthy to partake of the divine mysteries when the oblation is offered, or what amounts to the sacred service of the body of Christ. In case any one of them fail to partake when present at the divine liturgy, or communion, he is required to tell the reason or cause why he did not partake. Then if it is a just and righteous and reasonable one, he is to receive a pardon, or be excused. But if he refuses to tell it, he is to be excommunicated, since he also becomes a cause of harm to the laity by leading the multitude to suspect that the priest who officiated at liturgy was not worthy and that it was on this account that the person in question refused to communicate from him. Canon 9. All those faithful who enter and listen to the Scriptures, but do not stay for prayer and Holy Communion must be excommunicated, on the ground that they are causing the Church a breach of order. Canon 66 of the 6th, C2 of Antioch, CC 3:13 of Tim. Interpretation. Both exegetes of the sacred canons Zonaras, and Balsamon in interpreting the present apostolical canon agree in saying that all Christians who enter the church when the divine liturgy is being celebrated, and who listen to the divine scriptures, but do not remain to the end nor partake, must be excommunicated, as causing a disorder to the church. Thus Zonaras says verbatim, the present canon demands that all those who are in the church when the holy sacrifice is being performed shall patiently remain to the end for prayer and Holy Communion. For even the laity then were required to partake continually. Balsamon says, the ordainment of the present canon is very accurate, for it excommunicates those attending church but not staying to the end nor partaking. Concord. Agreeably with the present canon C2 of Antioch ordains that all those who enter the church during the time of divine liturgy and listen to the scriptures, but turn away and avoid, which is the same as to say, on account of pretended reverence and humility they shun, according to interpretation of the best interpreter, Zonaras, divine communion in a disorderly manner are to be excommunicated. The continuity of communion is confirmed also by C66 of the 6th, which commands Christians throughout Novational Week, i.e., Easter week, to take time off for psalms and hymns, and to indulge in the divine mysteries to their heart's content. But indeed even from the third canon of St. Timothy the continuity of communion can be inferred. For if he permits one possessed by demons to partake, not however every day, but only on Sunday, though in other copies it is written, on occasions only, it is likely that those not possessed by demons are permitted to communicate even more frequently. Some contend that for this reason it was that the same Timothy, in C3, ordains that on Saturday and Sunday that a man and his wife should not have mutual intercourse, in order, that is, that they might partake, since in that period it was only on those days, as we have said, that the divine liturgy was celebrated. This opinion of theirs is confirmed by divine Justin, who says in his second apology that on the day of the sun meaning Sunday all Christians used to assemble in the churches, which on this account were also called Kyriaka, i.e., places of the Lord, and partook of the divine mysteries. That, on the other hand, all Christians ought to frequent divine communion is confirmed from the West by divine Ambrose, who says thus: we see many brethren coming to church negligently, and indeed on Sundays not even being present at the mysteries. And again, in blaming those who fail to partake continually. The same saint says of the mystic bread, God gave us this bread as a daily affair, and we make it a yearly affair. From Asia, on the other hand, divine Chrysostom demands this of Christians, and, indeed, par excellence. And see in his preamble to his commentary of the Epistle to the Romans, Discourse 8, and to the Hebrews, Discourse 18, on the Acts, and Sermon V on the first Epistle to Timothy, and Sermon 17 on the Epistle to the Hebrews, and his discourse on those at first fasting on Easter, Sermon 3 to the Ephesians. Discourse addressed to those who leave the divine assemblies, Synaxis, Sermon 28 on the first Epistle to the Corinthians, a discourse addressed to blissful Philogonius, and a discourse about fasting. Therein you can see how the goodly tongue strives and how many exhortations it rhetorically urges in order to induce Christians to partake at the same time, and worthily, and continually. But see also Basil the Great, in his Epistle to Caesarea Patricia and in his first discourse about baptism. But then how can it be thought that whoever pays any attention to the prayers of all the divine liturgy can fail to see plainly enough that all of these are aimed at having it arranged that Christians assembled at the divine liturgy should partake as many, that is to say, as are worthy? Canon X. If anyone pray in company with one who has been excommunicated, he shall be excommunicated himself. Interpretation. The noun akoinonitos has three significations, for, either it denotes one standing in church and praying in company with the rest of the Christians, but not communing with the divine mysteries. Or it denotes one who neither communes nor stands and prays with the faithful in the church, but who has been excommunicated from them and is excluded from church and prayer. Or finally it may denote any clergyman who becomes excommunicated from the clergy, as, say, a bishop from his fellow bishops, or a presbyter from his fellow presbyters, or a deacon from his fellow deacons, and so on. Accordingly, every akoinonitos is the same as saying excommunicated from the faithful who are in the church, and he is at the same time also excommunicated from the mysteries. But not everyone that is excommunicated from the mysteries is also excommunicated from the congregation of the faithful, as are deposed clergymen. And from the penitents those who stand together and who neither commune nor stay out of the church like catechumens, as we have said. In the present canon the word koinonitos is taken in the second sense of the word. That is why it says that whoever prays in company with one who has been excommunicated because of sin from the congregation and prayer of the faithful, even though he should not pray along with them in church, but in a house, whether he be in holy orders or a layman, he is to be excommunicated in the same way as he was from church and prayer with Christians. Because that common engagement in prayer which he performs in conjunction with a person that has been excommunicated, wittingly and knowingly him to be such, is aimed at dishonoring and contemning the excommunicator, and introduces him as having excommunicated him wrongly and unjustly.